It was the famous poet T.S. Eliot who wrote the poem called The Hollow Man. And it ends with probably the most popular lines in any 20th century poem. And that is, "This is the way the world ends, not with a bang, but with a whimper." And I am going to put it to you that South African politics changes and has changed, not with a bang, but with a whimper. Basically, we've all got sick and tired of politics. The change is upon us, whether the politicians like it or not. For the past year, we have seen the almighty, all-conquering, all-powerful ANC lose their majority. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. We've seen the end of no consequences, state-sanctioned looting of the state end, not with a bang, but with a whimper. Seeing the end to struggle accounting and lack of accountability, not with a bang, but with a whimper. We're seeing the Cold War finally finishing in South Africa, where some of those old relationships that were there because something happened 40 years ago end. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Yeah, we've grown accustomed to those Hollywood-style endings where the bad guys get rounded up in one great action, get swooped and taken away in a big prison truck. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be like what we're living through at the moment, where one by one, there's some dirty cop, some criminal, some politician that just exits, maybe even goes to jail. Not with a great fanfare that we expected. For example, we expected after the Zondo Commission there'll be mass arrests. No, it's going to be a long process, but the tide has turned. So there are going to be a lot of people out there that will disagree with me. A lot of people out there saying, nothing's changed. ANC are still in charge. There's still corruption. There's still maladministration, the potholes, the traffic lights. Yes, you're right. There are still all of those things. But the days of getting away with it, with no consequences, have become more and more difficult to continue with, and it's just changed. The absolute loss of majority by the ANC, I do not think we understand, even though we see people like President Cyril Ramaphosa, his court jester Fikile Mbalula, try and act like they're still in charge. But could you imagine today if they tried to tell you that a swimming pool was a fire pool? We had to watch an entire ANC majority in Parliament agree that a swimming pool was a fire pool in 2017. That couldn't happen today. Now, Parliament and the other parties have realized there's consequences. Now, the Minister of Finance can't even pass a budget. He can't pass a budget because he decides at the last minute to behave like it's still the old days. So he adds a 2 percentage point increase to VAT so that they can continue looting the state. The other parties say, no, we're not going to vote for your 2% increase. Eventually, he had to go back, consult with the other members of Parliament, come out with a budget that was less disagreeable. I wouldn't say it's the best budget ever, but he had to listen for once. And no budget, no VAT increase in the budget. Things have changed. Consider our Minister of Higher Education, former Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Nbuhle Nkabani. She lies to Parliament. She treats Parliament with utter disrespect. She tries to appoint her pals to boards of seaters, people like Gwidi Mantashe's son, to put him on a board of a serious organization. She then chews while giving answers to Parliament. It's the kind of disrespect that in the past you could have got away with. We remember some of these ANC cabinet ministers treating Parliament with contempt. What happened to her? Eventually, even Captain Slowpoke had to fire her. Untenable. We see the police minister being suspended. Understandably, being suspended with pay, and it's not ideal, but action had to be taken. Why? Because Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi has said, I've got proof of malfeasance, and it goes all the way up to the minister. Even President Ramaphosa had to do something. Right? The idea that they could just do everything the way that they used to is gone. It ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. It doesn't end with another party getting a majority. It doesn't end with a civil war. It ends up with a dirty little party looking like a dirty little party. Now we're going to see the ANC heading up an ad hoc committee to investigate General Mkhwanazi's claims of political assistance for crime syndicates. Is the head of that ad hoc committee, the brilliantly named Soviet Lekhanyani, going to try and hide things? Absolutely. Is he going to try and bury the investigation? You can bet your life on it. Will he get away with it? Definitely not. Because the eyes of every South African is on it. In the past, whenever the ANC would do these kind of things, they would have the backing of the media houses, either the SABC or those that depend on the government licenses to operate. Now we've got podcasters. We don't stop. They can't regulate us. It's too late for that. They can't shoot us all because they can't organize themselves to do that. It's forced the mainstream media to behave in a more responsible fashion. It ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. The control of the media has ended. The next battlefield are the cities and municipalities around the country, which are a disgrace. Something like 40 clean audits out of 250. Everybody looking at what's going on in especially the cities and saying, no, we're just not happy with this. Some of the parties are in coalitions with some of these crooked entities. You know, we keep on talking about these Gauteng metros. No, they're going to get slammed in the polls if they keep this up. You can't claim to be a clean party, but then be part of a coalition in Johannesburg, for example, where even the Minister of Finance says, I'm not going to give you any more money unless you start behaving prudently. The Minister of Finance, the ANC minister, said to the ANC mayor, stop wasting taxpayer money. When in the last 31 years have you heard that? It didn't end because they wanted to. It ended not with a bang, but with a whimper. Our president decided that instead of doing what needs to be done, behaving and taking on the issues that trouble you and I and the whole of South Africa, he's going to call a national dialogue. The poor man, absolutely deluded. This is the same guy who didn't know that Johannesburg was falling apart despite the fact that he lives here. He thinks that the country would go for his national dialogue. I think we were the first podcast to call bullshit on that. Now even the foundations have called that. Even the foundations have pulled out of his national dialogue. Why? The mood has changed. The mood ended. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Outside of the government of national unity, we've got Mkhonto Wesizwe Party, full of state capturers. People we know were guilty of things we know through the Zondo Commission. MK thought it was a good idea to send these people to Parliament. Surprise, surprise, they aren't doing so well. Is that going to help them in the next local government election? I doubt it. EFF, party in decline. Why? Because they prop up crooked ANC administrations in Johannesburg, Kuruleni. They claim that they're clean, but yet they stay there. If they were so clean, they would leave those coalitions. All the signs are pointing in a different direction. And it's starting to become all about the next time we get our say, which is the local government elections. Next year, 2026. People are going to be voted in on merits. It's not going to be a vote on history, struggle credentials, who can sing the nicest. That day has ended, not with a bang, but with a whimper. Big changes are coming to the political scene in South Africa. They can come in one of two ways. Either some other movement will form that will fill up this void of leadership that is so sadly lacking, or one or more of the parties will suddenly understand what people really want, and they will accommodate them. You know, we get a lot of our political guidance from the first world. We watch what happens in places like Europe and the US, other democracies. What you see there in traditional two-party systems or three-party systems is that the parties constantly change. They're good, they get worse, they get worse, they get bad, and then either they will disappear or somebody will come in and improve them again. I'm not ruling out the fact that maybe from our political array of parties, one of them might turn around, could come there, or it'll come from somebody outside of that. But things are about to change. Our economy is about to get better. That will create a political problem for our politicians because people will feel less inclined to ask government to do things and more emboldened to vote them out. All I know is that the history of the new South Africa has ended. The beginning has ended. We have seen the first part of the new South Africa finish. The birthing pains are over. The country exists. And those old days of behaving badly and getting away with it are gone. They went, not with a bang, but with a whimper. And I promise you that South Africa is going to become a very exciting place over the next decade as this country goes from strength to strength, because those days are over. So let's see if we're right or wrong, but you're going to get it first here on the State of the Nation. I'm positive about the trajectory of the country at the moment. Let's keep watching. Thank you for joining us. Subscribe to the channel. We'll see you again on the State of the Nation.